My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
I'm Noble McIntyre of McIntyre Law, and I've been representing injured Oklahomans and their families for almost 30 years. At our firm, we've handled hundreds of crashes involving semis. They are huge vehicles, and when fully loaded, can weigh as much as 80,000 pounds. Most semi drivers are careful and professional drivers, but some big truck drivers and the companies they drive for are dangerous, and I've personally seen the devastating effects on families. If you or a loved one has been affected by a semi crash, contact us at 405-777-7000 or McIntyreLaw.com. We will fight for you.
Achieve platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program at Shell and save 10 cents per gallon on every fill. Right now, you're less than 5 miles away from your closest Shell, so make a pit stop this afternoon and fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Click the screen now to learn more about platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program or download the Shell app today. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months, 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
It's back to school season for the kiddos, which means it's the perfect time to get your vacay on. Beaches are empty, resorts are quiet, and Cheap Caribbean Vacations has fall vacay deals up to, wait for it, 45% off.
Plus, you can score more site-wide savings and take an extra $50 off your booking now through September 5th. Take this as your sign to pencil in a vacay this fall and turn back to school season into back to beach season.
Go to cheapcaribbean.com to find your next all-inclusive vacay. Offer ends September 5th.
You can achieve platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program at Shell twice as fast by filling up 6 times with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Right now, you're less than 5 miles away from your closest Shell, so make a pit stop this afternoon and fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Click the screen now to learn more about platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program or download the Shell app today. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months, 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of He Said, She Said. I am one of your hosts for this evening, Aggie, and with me is our awesome co host, Rick. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing all right. It's Friday, finally, although I guess it doesn't really matter because I pretty much work all the time anymore, but at least I have less work to do tomorrow. So there's that.
Some less.
Yeah, some less.
I thought that, hey, with retirement, I would have less. No, it's actually more. But I'm starting to get out of that weird, oh, I guess I should, make a trip during this weekend or whatever. I can do the trip during the weekday. I can go places during the weekday. I keep forgetting that. Like going to visit family, like I can go on a Tuesday. It just freaks me out still. I don't know. But yes, at least it's Friday and the start of the weekend. I always think the start of the weekend is at like in the afternoon, Friday afternoon. Even if you're at work, I still think it's the start of the weekend.
I mean, it should be. I mean, and funny thing is, Brad always opens his Thursday night shows as the opening to the weekend. And I'm like, that's a little early. But now I guess since they do Thursday night football, maybe he's not too far off.
Oh, yeah. Imagine my surprise. My husband was upset because they were going to be streaming the Cowboys game. He didn't tell me on what service, right? So last night I sit down to listen to the podcast because we're going to be talking about one of my favorite atrocious films. And so I decided, well, while I'm here, I might as well do some shopping on Amazon. And I click it on and there it is. I'm like, ah, damn it. So I went and got my tablet and I set it up for him. He was elated. And I was like, had I known, I would have set this up before you did anything. So, but yeah, he was happy. The Cowboys won or something. I don't know. I don't follow the Cowboys. I know that makes me a really, really horrible Texan.
I was going to say, how as a Texan do you not follow the Cowboys?
Because I worked in Irving and I had to deal with several of the members of that team. And I didn't have good experiences.
Man, we gotta learn to change the lock. Somehow the alien keeps getting in here. Evening, Jeff.
So yeah, but other than that, it was actually pretty cool. I had fun listening to the podcast. I don't care what anybody says. I enjoy Night at the Roxbury, and I think the reason I enjoy it so much is that it has a kick-ass soundtrack.
You are probably the only one.
I am. I think I'm the only one.
I would suggest finding a support group, but I think you would be there by yourself.
I know. I would be.
You should put out an ad somewhere. Am I the only person that likes this movie? Please respond. No, all of a sudden you hear,
I would, if I put that on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, I would get ratioed so badly. It's not even funny.
I mean, it's either that or it'd be a lot like this.
Yes. More likely, yeah. But other than that.
Although, I mean, ratios on Twitter are fun. Which, speaking of which, weren't they supposed to be doing something to make all that go away? And I guess maybe there was enough outcry that they stopped because it was supposed to have happened by now, I thought. Where they were supposed to make it harder for you to see anybody's likes and comments and stuff unless it was actually your account. I know they took the likes. I know they took the likes away, but then they started talking about like streamline because I guess somebody didn't like how the interface still looks. Looking at you, Elon. And they were supposed to streamline it by making it to where you had to like click inside of the actual thing to be able to see the interactions. And I'm like, that's just stupid. But anyway. But yeah, I thought that was supposed to have happened by now because I remember everybody like screaming and yelling about it and like, why would you do this when the whole point of this site is to try to get interactions and yada, yada, yada. And everybody's freaking out and it never seemed to have happened. But they've done something. And I know it's probably something that I've said on my main account because it's interesting because I can put out a broadcast on the Beacon and not even tell anybody that I'm doing it. And there's 56 people watching within 20 to 25 minutes. And that account's only followed by 130 people. That's an over 50% conversion rate. Right now on my account, I have 15 people watching, and I have 10,000 people following me. You do the math.
Yeah, I don't get it. I tweet out the show account out of habit.
Well, no, I've always kind of just been curious to see if, because I have actually grown in followers since we've started doing this. I've been waiting to see if there's been any natural conversion to people being drawn in and coming to watch or pay attention, and there's really not. And I've noticed if I don't promote like crazy while I'm live, I mean, if I do, then we normally wind up with pretty good numbers. But if I don't, then we're about half of where we normally are. Because I've been running tests all this week to find out if we're getting any kind of natural pullback in, or if I have to be like every 15 minutes, hey, there's a show, come pay attention to me. I hate doing that. But it's the only way I can get the numbers up. It's annoying. I mean, all the other guys that are getting paid to do this do it all the time, so I guess it must work for them. I don't know. Anyway, I'm cranky tonight. Don't mind me. I started looking into all the restaurants that I used to like to go to that actually don't exist anymore now that I don't live up towards the city. And I was like, wait, that one's gone too? That one's gone too? And then there's a few from my childhood. You know, we talked about some of them last time. So my first honorable mention to, you know, restaurants that were awesome that don't exist anymore, at least that I can find anywhere, is Showbiz Pizza, because they got taken over by the fucking rat. Showbiz Pizza was awesome. The only difference was Chuck E. Cheese had better marketing. So Chuck E. Cheese took over the world and Showbiz went away, and I still prefer Showbiz to this day. But anyway, so that's kind of the topic for tonight. We're going to be talking about restaurants of yesterday. So I had a little bit of fun with the title, and then had some fun putting together some AI stuff. I got the new graphic from Jeff. I was like, hey, I need that because that'll work out pretty well if we can do it as an overlay. And it worked. I like it. Yeah, speaking of which, you guys can thank Aggie for the new artwork. It was her idea.
Oh, wow. I will say, like I said, it was a very rough sketch, and Jeff delivered. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah. I mean, Jeff did just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Jeff did all the design work, but it was Aggie's concept, so which I absolutely love. The only thing that I don't like right now is with all the news breaking about Sam Elliott. That's who that mustache reminds me of right now. I'm just like, and especially because when I first started doing this, everybody's like, when they first started hearing my voice, they're like, you know, when you get mad, you sound like a younger Sam Elliott. And I used to take that as such a compliment. Now I'm like, but yeah. But anyway, so
yeah, sorry.
No, I was gonna say. So, what do you got on your list? Your list is.
Well, I have some interesting picks. Some are not so. Some people are like, "Wow, you ate there." I'll be like, "Yes, I did." But you know, ironically, some of my picks are actually making a comeback, which I found to be really weird. But hey, whatever. You know, everything old is new again. I'm the queen of it, and my entire house is MCM, so I'm not surprised. I know Danielle in the chat actually mentioned Bennigan's, and I thought, yeah, I think there's like one left. No, it's coming back. They've like rebranded. They have several locations, and I am shocked because the last location that I recall was open was in Monahans, Texas, and y'all have no idea how far out in the middle of nowhere Monahans is. Okay. So it's spelled Monahans, Monahans. And It's in the middle of nowhere. And that was the last location I knew about for Bennigan's. But apparently, there are now 7 locations in the US, 2 of which are in Texas. There's one in Iowa. No, there's 2 in Iowa, 1 in Illinois, 1 in Michigan, and 1 in North Dakota. And there's some that are delivery only, but those 7 are the ones that you can go walk in and sit down and have dinner. And they have quite a few international locations. Like there's more international locations than there are domestic, which is weird. There's one in Bahrain, one in Cyprus. It's weird, but I'm just like, okay, it's making a comeback, as is one of my old favorites that went away. They closed down. I think it was the last one closed down in 2008. Steak and Ale. I used to love going to Steak and Ale. For me, going to Steak and Ale was like going to a fancy place because the inside was like all of these old chairs and it looked French, and all that stuff. And I gotta say, the French silk pie was to die for. I used to go there and get the stuffed mushrooms and the French silk pie. my parents would be like, "That's all you're eating?" I said, "That's all I need. That is all I need."
It's my comfort food. Don't judge me.
But I always thought that Steak and Ale was just such a great place. And unfortunately, they went bankrupt back in 2008. But the same company that owns Bennigan's owns Steak and Ale. And Steak and Ale is making a comeback now. They just opened their first location. So I'm going to stand by it being gone because it's still not here. The location's not here in Texas. So I can't get to it. Ergo, it's still gone. But apparently there are plans afoot to bring back the iconic brand of Steak and Ale. Hopefully they won't change the menu too much. That is my biggest pet peeve with any restaurant is every single time that they change a menu. I know that you're supposed to keep things fresh and everything. And it's okay to change menu by season, but I don't understand why you have to do it every 2 weeks. That boggles the mind. I'm looking at you, Chili's.
Yeah,
Anyway.
well, Chili's just does it because they only can get so many microwave meals at the same time. So. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say the quiet part out loud? My bad. But anyway, this does bring up an interesting little side note that I noticed on my Facebook the other day. One of my nieces was complaining because she went to Taco Bell and she's like, I ordered the same thing that I always order, and I ordered a number 7, and I got home and they gave me the wrong thing. So I drove all the way back to Taco Bell, ready to give them a piece of my mind, and realized that they changed the menu and the numbers, so it was my fault. So now I'm mad at myself.
Oh no.
She's like, guess it's my bad for not reading the menu and just ordering the same way I always order. At least I got my drink right, because that's usually what I ask for.
I'm still.
Oh, and then I do have one more honorable mention that I brought up last week when we were doing favorite places to eat. I think is when it came up. Shotgun Sam's Pizza, which was a place that I loved to eat when I was a kid. As far as I knew, their last location closed here in the 90s. However, they have made a comeback, so that's why they're now just an honorable mention on this show, because I was going to list them as my number 5, but I can't now because there is a location in Tulsa. So since it is still technically within driving range, I cannot list it as my number 5, so now it gets an honorable mention. Bastards.
All right. So what is your number 5?
My number 5, and believe it or not, I have eaten here. And hang on, I have to get this pulled up. There we go. My number 5, and it's somewhere that I ate just once, just because of the name, and well, that and because I love barbecue. But I have to get prepped for something because unfortunately it is closed now, so it no longer exists. But it is a barbecue joint that was located on Northwest 23rd Street in Oklahoma City, and again, the whole reason I decided to eat here was because of the name, and the name is. Hang on, not working.
Giggity giggity. Giggity goo. Stick around.
Backdoor barbecue.
Okay. Okay. Well, I would wager that that's not why it's called backdoor, but okay.
No, actually, it was owned by the same groups that have started some stuff around here that's actually very popular. Big Truck Tacos and Pizzeria Gusto. But unfortunately, it shut its doors at the end of July. The owners, when they reported the closing, cited, of course, included in the citations they used, included the rising cost of beef, though they also said some of the spot's signature pastrami might find its way to the menu at Big Truck. So, yeah, they're going to keep some stuff going. But they're going to move it over to the food truck thing they have going on. But the restaurant itself is officially closed.
Ah, I am so sorry. It had. I bet you anything they'll bring it back though.
It was really good food though. How about you? What else? What else you got for us so I can?
Okay, well, my number 4 was actually kind of a small chain, but I used to hit it every time we went to visit my folks when they lived in El Paso. My parents moved out there late 90s and were there till about 2006, I think, 2007, something like that. I don't remember when they moved back. It's all a blur, but I used to go to El Paso to visit my parents all the time, and I had to have Kenny Rogers.
Nice.
I know it sounds weird and everything, but for some reason, the Kentucky Fried Chicken in El Paso just didn't taste right compared to Kentucky Fried Chicken like Houston or Dallas or San Antonio or wherever else I was living at the moment. It had sand in it. I don't know. It was something. I have no idea what it was. And I love churches, and we would go to churches all the time, but churches didn't at the time have roasted chicken. So I would actually pull into Kenny Rogers and get a roasted chicken and then go to my parents. I didn't go to my parents first and then go to Kenny Rogers. I went to Kenny Rogers first and then I went to my parents. And of course, my parents are like, "Oh, thanks. I can't believe you just stopped." They never understood that the attraction for me was not my family. It was the damn restaurants. But that sadly went away. I don't think there are any open, but no idea. But that was a favorite haunt of mine. And the thing was, I know there was one in Dallas, and I'm pretty sure there was one in San Antonio, but I don't recall where. The only one whose actual location I knew for a fact was the one in El Paso. So I had to wait to go visit my parents in order to have my addiction satisfied.
Addiction, you say?
Well, it was good.
I'm not judging. Not really. Maybe a little. Just kidding. All right.
I want fried chicken.
Who doesn't? But my favorite place to get fried chicken that I finally got a chance to go to is actually about an hour and a half away from me. And it's a little hole in the wall that used to be a bar and was like one of the first bars in Oklahoma. And it's Ishin's Chicken, and it's so good. It's weird though, because it's like old school. Like they fry up the whole chicken, and then that's the only way you can get it. You can order the whole chicken, and that's it. Like they still cut it up for you, but it's literally like the 2 legs, the 2 thighs, the wings, the breasts, and it's just that's all you. So you basically get like an 8-piece with your order. And we went for the first time about a month ago with my kids and everybody, and I guess it's been closer to 2 months now. And it took us forever to get there, so we were hungry. So we got 2 chickens, and then an order of, I don't remember what the side was, but I think it was their fried okra. Yeah, that's what it was. And the kids absolutely loved all of it. So I left with 2 more chickens and another order of okra, and we put it in the oven for dinner because that's how much they liked it. But
Hey,
I will say that's one thing that's probably about the only thing that I miss about my ex-wife. She really knew how to fry chicken, and I don't really. I mean, I'm getting better, but it's still not as good as hers. So when we went and tried Aishin's and everybody loved it, I was like, we're getting something to take home, and I can just snack on it.
I used to make a really good batter. It was beer batter for chicken,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, there are people in the house that cannot have yeast, and so I can't make it anymore. And yeah, it's really difficult. So I'm more I prefer to actually roast any fowl that I happen to have on hand. So, turkey, duck, obviously. I'm already getting demands for duck for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. And apparently my mom has made a request that I come down and hang out for Thanksgiving. She misses me and everything. Oh, and by the way, you can make a duck while you're here. Yeah, okay. I see what it is now.
So your family wants to eat like Haitians?
The cool thing is the butcher that my parents have been going to since we got here in 76, Valdez. Now it's his son that runs it. The owner passed away about 10 years ago, and it's his son that runs it. And he's about to hand it over to his son. You can put in a request for any kind of fowl, and they'll go find it for you and fix it for you and everything. My parents' neighbors were throwing, excuse me, a medieval style party one year. He happened to be one of the professors at the university there, and they ordered pheasant. And sure enough, they brought it in for him. I mean, they're like, sure, that's not a problem. Pheasant's pretty. There's quite a bit of edible fowl in that area that I grew up in, and so they brought it in and they said, "Do you want us to, prepare it for you? What do you want us to do?" And so traditionally, they used to dress the fowl after cooking it. So they would save the feathers and then would put the feathers back on. So it would look really fancy when it was being served. And so they said, yeah, just save us the feathers because we need to dress it. And Mr. Valdez never even blinked. He said, okay. It's like the white people being weird, but okay. But, my mom said, yeah, just let me know if you're coming down so I can put in the order for duck. I'm like, I'll bring my own, Mom. I'll bring the duck. It's okay. You don't have to do that. But, and one thing she wanted me to learn to make was quail. And I'm like, that is not even worth anything. I'm sorry. I know that there's some people out there who love quail. I am sure that prepared well quail tastes fantastic. It's just a waste of time for me. It really is. So, but that's just my opinion. Anyway.
Eating quail is a lot like eating crawfish. It's kind of pointless. There's just not much there, in my opinion. But I don't know. Anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah, I just made a lot of people. You don't like crawfish? No, not really. Besides, my thing was, even if I was willing to try it, the first time somebody almost convinced me to try it when I said I'm not sure how to eat it, and their explanation was you rip it in half and you eat it. You eat head and ass, and I'm like, no.
You suck head and eat ass.
Head, eat ass, and I'm like, no. I'm not doing that. I don't care.
That was one of my favorite stories. I've told Brad on the show before, but the English professor that I used to babysit for when I was in college had a conference in New Orleans, and he'd never had Cajun food. So the place that he was staying at had a restaurant, and so he went down to eat. And the young lady asked what he wanted to order, and he said, I've never been here. What do you recommend? And she said the crawfish, and he said, sure, bring, no problem. And she asked him if he had any problem with heat or anything, and no, he didn't. He ate spicy food all the time. So she brings it out and puts it on there, and then walks away. And then she notices that he has not done anything but stare at the plate. So she comes and asks him, is there something wrong with it? And he says, I don't know what to do, because they were whole, And she says, well, you suck head and you eat ass. And he's this proper stuffed shirt professor. Young lady, what did you say? And she said, no. And she had to explain to him how to eat it. And so she said, wait right here. And she went to the kitchen and she came back wearing gloves and with a little bowl, and it had a couple in there. Okay. And so she taught him how to do it. And, he loves, crawfish. He loves gumbo now. He really enjoys Cajun food, but he said that was an experience that needed to go into. Laughter is the best medicine in Reader's Digest, for sure. Yeah. So, but I mean, some people really enjoy crawfish, and other people are like, this is such a waste of time. It's so tiny, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, but that's part of I think that's part of the attraction. You sit there and you communing with other people, and you're being messy, and you just, just enjoying the food. You don't have to worry about good etiquette, good manners, nothing like that. I mean, they come seriously. I've helped with quite a few crawfish boils, and you dump all this stuff on butcher paper on a table, and you sit down and you start eating from that mound. It's awesome to me. It's really neat. People enjoy that camaraderie. So I can see the attraction, but I also see why people would be like, yeah, that's not happening.
For me, I mean, it's just way too much work for too little meat anyway. And I'm just like, I don't even see the point. But I'm weird with seafood though. I don't like most seafood. The little bit that I do like is usually fried. I'll eat like crab's legs, but don't make me do all the work to get the shit out of the middle, because that's just gross to me. I don't like peel and eat shrimp, because first time I ever tried to do that, I got shrimp poop on my fingers, and I was not happy about that.
No.
I do like fried shrimp, because that's usually been deveined and cleaned and done properly. So there are things that I will eat, but I'm very particular about how I eat them. As far as crab, the two things I like to eat are crab's legs, or I will eat crab cakes. First experience I ever had with doing the whole peel and eat crab was when we moved to, I think it was actually when we moved to Delaware. That was the first time I ever really tried it, because West Coast you can get it, but it was a little harder. So we went to a crab boil when my mom and my stepdad moved us to Delaware, because when he retired, that was his home state, so he wanted to go back. And first time I ever cracked one open, my stepdad's like pointing out this, and I was like, stay away from those things. Those are the devil's fingers. Those will kill you. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm done. No. When you tell me there's something in here that could kill me if I eat it, and I don't even know if it was true or not. He may have just been being an asshole, but I'm just like, no, I'm done. I don't know. No, find me a cheeseburger, something, anything. I was a lot more of a picky eater when I was a kid. I think I've told this story before, but I couldn't even be at the breakfast table if my dad cooked fried eggs, because he always liked his yolks runny, and as soon as he popped them, I lost it. I'm like sitting here just trying, the GIF that has, I think it's Jim Carrey, like trying not to throw up. I think that's who that is. At least it looks like him. One where he's just like, and you're just looking at it. Yeah, that was me. Every time my dad cracked open a fried egg when I was a kid. Absolutely love them now. Could not stand them when I was a kid. There was in between the smell and then the yolk and everything else. I was just like, but I didn't even really like eggs at all when I was a kid. The only way my dad could get me to eat them was hard scrambled with cheese all over the top.
Oh no, I've always grown up loving eggs. I mean, it's just eggs are a miracle food, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh.
And it was funny because that was the only food I can recall my mom asking my preference over. You know, when we ate cereal, she didn't ask the kids what kind of cereal they liked. Whatever she bought, that's what we ate. So most of the time, it did not have sugar. Okay, when eggs were the only thing that we actually had some pseudo control over. So, come Sunday, when it was a big brunch day, because we'd go to church before we would have breakfast. So by the time we got home, it's pretty much brunch time anyway. And she would ask each of us how we wanted our eggs done. And all of us had a different way. But that was the only leeway my mom would give us. So she was like fine with it. Everything else, we had no control over anything else but that. So, oh yeah, good times.
So
anyway, all right. So I guess I should. What are we on? Number 3?
Yeah, I think number 3. I think.
Mm-hmm. Number 3 for me was a restaurant chain that was the precursor to all of the Mexican food chains.
Wait, hang on. Did I give my number 4?
I don't know. Did you? Did you give your number 4?
I don't think I did because I don't think I mentioned it yet. Because my number 4 is a bit of a story. Well,
then you go with that.
There is a very popular pizza place here in the town that I live next to, Purcell, called Joe's Pizza. Well, it used to be run by a husband and wife, and in the divorce, she got the pizza shop. Well, down the street, and I mean literally right down the street, he opened his own called Rodney's. And for the longest time, they competed with each other. He was ready to retire. None of his kids wanted it, so he sold it about 5 years ago at this point, because it was about a year before she left. So, yeah, about 5 years. But I remember because we always went to Joe's first, and then we found out about Rodney's later. And even though it's almost identically the same pizza, the ambiance, especially when you went to eat inside, was so much different because with them at Joe's, it was like, country style pizza. You didn't really get, plates or anything. They served it to you on like cardboard and blah, blah, blah. And then Rodney's, it was like a real sit down experience. And for some reason, the pizza even tasted a little bit better. So we were really pissed off when that one went away. So the original's still there. And apparently there's another family member who's opened one somewhere in Tulsa, but I don't remember the name of that one. But Rodney's Pizza is no more, and that's one that actually really did make me sad because I preferred their pizza to Joe's. And Joe's is really good pizza. So,
pizza, I miss it.
What, you don't have pizza anymore?
Well, there's only one pizza joint. There's a Pizza Inn in town, and I could buy the frozen, but it's just not the same.
I actually prefer Pizza Inn. It's one of the only, besides Hideaway Pizza, it's one of the only ones that I know of that actually, if you get the loaded pizza, will actually put the black and the green olives on there. I don't usually like green olives by themselves, but on a pizza combined with the black olives, something about that just tastes really good to me.
It depends on the combination because I know somebody who cannot stand herring and can't stand sour cream, but combine the two and she will eat a gallon of it.
Okay, that's a little weird.
I know. Can't stand pickle herring, can't stand sour cream. Put them together and it's like chocolate and peanut butter for her. So
you put your chocolate in my peanut butter. No, you put your peanut butter in my chocolate. Oh, that's back when they even used to try to make commercials funny. Now everything's just like either weird or serious, and it's weird.
Oh, it's either weird or they're bashing the dad, the man of the house, or they have to make some kind of statement about the planet or whatever, the cause du jour. I don't like commercials anymore. I used to watch the Clio Awards, which were, for the best ads,
Yeah.
for that year. And I loved that because you got to see some awesome ads from around the world. It was so great. But they don't even televise the Clio Awards anymore because it's not worth it.
That should be next week's topic. We should each find 5 of our favorite band ads.
Band?
Yeah, can't be seen in this country but can be seen elsewhere.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I have one in mind already. I think I've actually shared it with you before. It's the one with the purple M&M and the yellow M&M's.
Yes.
And he's all drained, and she's like, "Does this mean I get to be in the commercial now?" And he said, "I said maybe." When I saw that, I was dying because I was like, that was like in the height of Me Too, too. I was like, this is just bad timing. No wonder they won't let us see it here. But yeah, if you go look, you can find all kinds of commercials that have been made that appear elsewhere that are not welcome here because they just.
Oh no, there's. I think my favorite. Well, I won't say it in case we do it. So.
But anyway, yeah, I just mentioned that one because I've actually already done it before, so I figured it wasn't really a surprise. For me, but it will still probably get an honorable mention though, just because I want to play it.
Okay. All right.
What's your number 3?
My number 3. It was basically a restaurant chain that was the precursor to all the Mexican food chains that you have out here. It was called Chi-Chi's. And when they first came on the scene, people went apeshit over it because it was, it brought pseudo Mexican food to areas that normally didn't have any kind of Tex-Mex or actual Southwest cuisine or Mexican cuisine of any kind. So it took off like the gangbusters, and it was actually pretty good. You sat down at the table. It had, and some of the restaurants still have the little flag thing, that you raise it up and then they come and whatever. But they used to have that. They would have the big nacho platters. That was the place where you would get that, and it was this huge platter, and it would feed like 4 or 5 people. So, and it was very inexpensive. People really liked going there because it was different. It wasn't Bennigan's. It wasn't Steak and Ale. It was something completely alien to most people. So they thought that it was, great, but, eventually it went away because it couldn't really compete with, Taco Bell and Taco Cabana and all of the others that were more fast foodish than sit down. On the Border kind of took over Chi-Chi's for a while, and now On the Border is, I don't know On the Border is still around. There's one in Tyler. I see it all the time, and I just wonder how it managed to survive, because there used to be one at every corner in every town over here in Texas. I swear to God, everywhere you went, there was an On the Border, and I don't see them anymore.
I've eaten it On the Border like 3 times, and the best thing they have is their loaded queso. But I was pissed off with how much they charged me for the loaded queso, even though it was good. But I'm like, I just paid $12 for a bowl of cheese. And then and this ties into another story, because when we went to Padre, we stopped and ate at a Mexican restaurant in I keep wanting to say Santa Fe. What the hell is the name of that town down there? Shit.
No, there's Santa Fe. But...
No, San Antonio was the one that we stopped in to stay the night. I remember, because I just remember a friend of ours.
You mean the place that I used to live at when I started KLRN? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, remember we were supposed to meet up, and then we were late, so we couldn't make that happen. But because that was forever ago. But anyway, So we go to this Mexican restaurant, and of course it's in San Antonio, and that's pretty much all you see. So we're thinking it's going to be really, really, really good food. And so I got queso. It was $10 for a small bowl of reheated Velveeta with nothing in it.
You're kidding.
Like, what the hell is this? So then I get pork carnitas, thinking, that this should be really good. I'm expecting, like shredded pork, caramelized onions, all that fun stuff. And they basically brought me 5-6 cubes of pork tenderloin. They didn't shred it. They barely spiced it. I mean, I'm like, if I had known who he was during this trip, I would have been doing like the whole Mr. Chime Time impersonation the entire time on this thing. I'd be like, where's the love, man? Where's the spices? Because I'm just like, we're like in the middle of like, where Tex-Mex came from. And y'all are doing this, really? And my dad, it's funny because we all wanted Mexican food. And my dad can't eat it. So he's sitting there eating a hamburger at a Mexican restaurant. I'm like, that's just wrong on so many levels. He's like, I still bet my food's better than yours. Shut up, Dad.
Too funny. Yeah, I miss it. But, I'm in Texas. There's no end to Tex-Mex around here. And the smaller the hole in the wall, the better the food. As a matter of fact, when I go to town on Wednesdays, I buy my tamales from the back of somebody's trunk. Best tamales I've ever had.
Nice.
But, she markets them that way. She tells people, I will be parked at this place. I will have tamales and she has both the pork and the chicken and the beef. And then she also has homemade salsa that you can buy, with the tamales. And, she sells a dozen for like, I think it's like $6 for a dozen tamales. And I mean, that's a dinner right there for 2 people.
Damn, that's actually a really good deal.
Yeah, it is a good deal. And then, if you want the salsa, she puts it in she actually jars it. So the salsa is actually more expensive than the tamales, but that salsa will last you for like 2 weeks anyway. And if you want, she takes deposits on the jars. She's awesome. She's got the whole thing down, but she markets them out because the running joke is the best tamales come from an abuelita that's selling them from the back of her car, from the trunk of her car. Everybody knows this, so that's how she advertises it, and people go. She tells them where she's going to be parked, and you see, I mean, the entire parking lot is completely full, and people are there just to pick up tamales, and she's usually done within 30 minutes. So that's not, it's not a bad take. And she does this Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturday mornings. But the Saturday morning ones are at the farmer's market, and she has more there. So they're not actually out of the trunk of the car. But yeah, so yeah, I literally buy the tamales out from somebody's trunk. So, but being in Texas, that's, if you want really real authentic Mexican food, people will be disappointed. What we have is Tex-Mex, and I cannot express to you how different Mexican food is from Tex-Mex. I mean, if ever you're in the international food section where they have the Goya and they have, all of the jarritos and all that stuff, look up on the top shelf and look for something called mole sauce. Okay. Then go home and look up what's in mole sauce and how it came about. And you will be very shocked, because most people don't expect, the ingredients of mole to be what they are. It's a good sauce, and the story behind the national dish of Mexico is actually a beautiful one. So I encourage everybody to actually read that if you don't know it by now. But mole sauce is not for everybody. I'm just saying.
So yeah, Danielle in the chat. I love Mexican food unless it's heavy on the cilantro, which reminds me of another reel I saw the other day. Guys sitting down at a table at a supposed Mexican restaurant, and so a guy comes up and says, "Would you like some fresh cilantro?" And they're like, "Sure." And dude just starts grinding, like actually grating a bar of soap, like Olive Garden style. I was like, that's amazing. That's amazing. Because yeah, I can do cilantro in small doses, but if there's too much of it, to me, it does start tasting like soap, and it's weird because you're either one of those people that you like the taste of it, or you think it tastes like soap. And I'm in the it tastes like soap category.
I love it. I could eat it alone. I put it in
I mean, it's in your genetics, so I'm not
It is. We have something in Puerto Rico called sofrito, which is a base, flavor base for our dishes, and it requires cilantro. And so everybody, huh?
I was saying hi to Amish. Sorry.
Oh, and but my sister, she makes really good sofrito, and she asked me, "Do you want some?" And I'm like, "Yes." How much cilantro did you put in it? And she looks at me and is like, 2 bunches. And I'm like, that's not enough.
It needs more.
It needs more. She says, then make your fucking own. It's like, okay, fine.
Nice. All right. So I think you just did your number 3, if I remember.
I did.
All right. So my number 3 is actually a double shot. One is because I don't care if they're still using the same name. As far as I'm concerned, it's not the same. First one is Coit's, which was a local drive-in that was actually comparable to A&W. That was awesome. Even before it closed, and I think it was 90. No, it was 2004, 2005, which was when the last one closed, because it was right in the middle of one of the areas I used to work all the time. So I used to go over there and get stuff. And they back then even like did the chilled glasses, or chilled mugs, like A&W style. So that's my first one, is Coit's, and it was a drive-in. It was awesome. It had like the root beer, it had all the usual stuff. And another one that I still consider to be defunct is A&W, because the name may still exist, but nothing about that place is the same. It's not a drive. I haven't found one again that's a drive-in. They don't do the chilled mugs. I remember when I was a kid, even just going to get a drink from A&W was amazing, because they would bring out a tiny little chilled glass mug for your kids' drink. And I used to think those things were so cool because we got to keep them. And I was like, this is so awesome. But yeah, I mean, A&W, the brand still exists, but it is not the same. And I tried to eat at the one, because now it's like there's one over here that's like a combination restaurant. So it's A&W Long John Silver's. So I tried it just to see if it was anything like what it used to be or what I remembered it was. And I'm like, nope, not the same. Nope. I don't care what name you're slapping on it. McDonald's is better than this, and that's sad for A&W.
I think MD over at the KLRN chat, he said that there is an A&W drive-in over in Ohio. So they're still around, maybe a little changed, but
I still consider it defunct. But because I'm using your excuse. I can't get there. So
okay, yeah, all right, fine. True.
And as far, I mean, like I said, and it does technically still exist. I just haven't found a drive-in version anymore, and it's weird. But the funny thing is, and this, we think Americans being stupid is a new thing. The funny thing is, part of what started driving A&W out of business originally was because they actually offered a higher quality burger at a third pound that was less expensive than the McDonald's quarter pounder. But everybody thought, because the number on the bottom was bigger, that the quarter pounder was a better value.
Yes, I remember that.
And we think Americans being stupid is a new thing.
It is not.
And this was within the time frame where the whole Department of Education and everything was still fairly new, so that had nothing to do with it. I'm just saying. We can blame them now because they've been doing the same stuff for like 40, 50 years now. But this was happening late 70s, early 80s. So they had barely, if they were even around, they barely existed because they didn't even actually get founded until like 80, 81. But anyway.
Amazing. Well, there's
Thank
still
you, Carter.
some, but like you said, you can't get to it, so it's defunct.
Oh.
Alrighty, so I guess I'm my number 2.
You're at your number 2.
Okay, my number 2, I only ate there once.
And I forgot to
Because
get Casey again. Damn it.
Huh?
One of these- I forgot to get Casey again. One of these days, I'm going to get his voice for the countdown show. And I keep forgetting to do it.
this is I mean, the places are still around, but the actual restaurants closed down. And I remember going when I was very young to the one that was in San Juan. It's a chain of hotels, Howard Johnson's. They used to have a really nice restaurant associated with their motel, whatever you want to call it. As a matter of fact, one of the iconic things that they had in their restaurants was a Blanco water bottle that was specifically designed by Blanco Glass for the restaurant chain. And it is, for those of you, I don't know if you're familiar with Blanco, but Blanco is well known for their water bottle design, which has been around since, I want to say, in the 1930s or something. However, they actually were commissioned by Howard Johnson's to make this particular water bottle for all of their restaurants. And now they're very hard to come by. Some people find them every so often on eBay, and they go for hundreds of dollars because it was that particular style of that water bottle was specifically made for the Howard Johnson's restaurant chain. But I remember I ate there once, and we were in San Juan. We were visiting my aunt, and I believe it was her birthday. So no, it wasn't her birthday. It was her mother-in-law's birthday. And that woman was like Endora. Okay, imagine Endora, but instead of red hair, it's long and dark. Same makeup thing going. Same outfits and everything. It was Endora, but with black hair. Okay. So it was her birthday, and so we all went. And ironically, her son did not pick up the tab. My father did. And my aunt's mother-in-law said not a word about it. She just expected to be treated. But it was such a nice restaurant. It had at least my experience with it was really, really nice. And it was really neat to, go. I mean, I'm watching Leave It to Beaver. And when they go to a restaurant, it's like, that's what it was like. That is exactly what it was like going to the Howard Johnson's restaurant. And it made an impression on me. So we come to the States. We moved like a couple of years after that. We moved to the States. And there's a Howard Johnson's in McAllen. And they have the restaurant. And I telling Dad, we need to eat there soon. We need to eat there soon. And he's like, as soon as we have a house and as soon as, we have enough money to go out to eat and all that stuff. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Well, by the time my dad, my parents were on welfare for a time. Once we came to the States, because my dad, when he came here, we had almost nothing. So, by the time my father had enough and we could go, they had closed that particular Howard Johnson's restaurant. So I never made it back. And I think they eventually faded out in the, 80s or early 90s or something like that. But they were, it was gone. But I still have that memory of having had such a great time, even though, evil Endora was sitting at the head of the table. The kids were over at the very end because she did not want to be disturbed by us talking. So we were at at the very end of the table, which was cool because I was there with my 2 other cousins and my sister. And so that was kind of neat. But it left an impression on me, and I wish they would bring it back, because that, having a hotel with a home style atmosphere restaurant attached to it, I think they would generate a lot more, tourism that way. But I don't know, maybe not. So yeah, for me, Howard Johnson's restaurant.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, I've heard of it, but I've never had the opportunity to eat there. So
No, I mean, and it's funny because in literature, every so often, you come across the mention of the Howard Johnson's restaurant. I believe Earl Stanley Gardner had some mentions of it in some of his Perry Mason books. Dashiell Hammett, if I recall correctly, also mentioned it in one of his books. So it was part of like Americana for a very long time. But, like everything, they go away. Maybe it'll come back like Steak and Ale and Bennigan's is doing, but I don't know.
And apparently Shotgun Sam's in Tulsa. Fucking Tulsa. Anyway.
That's kind of far from you, isn't it?
Well, actually, when I was in the city, it was only about an hour and a half. Now it'd be closer to about a 2 hour and 20-minute drive. But I mean, it's not too terrible. Tulsa's actually really pretty, so I don't mind going up there from time to time. I used to have to go up there occasionally for work, and then we spent a 3-day weekend up there, which is when I figured out that there actually is a part of Oklahoma that does remind me of Seattle. So I actually would like to go back up there again. I just haven't had time. Because it's like you got the rolling hills and lots of green, and I'm like, oh, this kind of almost feels like Seattle again. But anyway, they have they have a really good pizza place up there that we found that's run by Italian folks, and it's really good. I'm like, I really want to go back and get some of that pizza. But anyway.
Okay, so I guess you're at 2.
Yep, number 2 for me is an all you can eat Mexican place, and then an honorable mention all you can eat Mexican place, because they're tied together and neither one exists anymore. They're same thing, same vein, but neither one exists anymore. And my favorite of the 2 that we had near us was called Casa Bonita, and it was amazing. You could get pretty much anything you wanted there, Mexican food related. And I remember this was probably late 80s, early 90s, and used to be able to go and eat all you can eat there for like $5. It was amazing.
Wow.
And then, so that one went away, and then its replacement a little bit further down the road, and suddenly its name is escaping me. Ponchos. Yeah, Ponchos. Which was kind of like, have you ever had CC's Pizza? Have you ever heard of pizza? Okay. Yes. So the difference between these two, as far as restaurant style types, would be like going from Golden Corral and having really decent food for a buffet to going to CC's Pizza, but Mexican. It was just terrible. And it lasted even longer because it was even cheaper, and they were able to keep the prices lower. So everybody would take their kids there on the weekends because it was cheap as hell to feed them. And yeah, so that one actually I think went out of business sometime in 2001, 2002. But I never ate there, but I heard all kinds of horror stories from people who did, and there were still people that took their kids there all the time. I was like, y'all are just weird. Just weird. But I mean, then again, kids eat fucking McDonald's like it's filet mignon, so I guess it doesn't matter.
I know. But it depends on which McDonald's you're talking about, because American, yeah, not that great. But if you go to, I've been to German McDonald's, French McDonald's, Viennese McDonald's, Italian McDonald's. Nothing will prepare you for McBeer and McWine on the menu.
Dude, I saw a reel the other day about McDonald's in Italy, and I was like, they have some high-class fucking food from McDonald's in Italy. Like, there was like one that had like fried cheese on it, not like all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, that's McDonald's? Really? Like, has like a giant like thing that's done like a cheese stick, but it's a giant cheese patty. And I'm like, that just seems weird for a McDonald's. But I don't know.
No, it had. I mean, it was weird. It was surreal. There was one McDonald's that um, the my brother-in-law was stationed in Vicenza, and he would have to travel to Grafenberg in Germany every so often for work. They would stop at this particular one, and he said it's a McDonald's with $1 million view. You can't miss it. It's right outside of Innsbruck. So we went down, and he actually told us when we were leaving where it was specifically, and we stopped. And it's a McDonald's, and you park, and the front looks like a McDonald's, but it's wide, not tall, right? But it still looks like a McDonald's, and you walk in, and you are greeted with the backside being all glass windows, floor to ceiling, so that you can have a view of the Alps. It is the most amazing McDonald's I've ever been into, and I did not want to leave. And the food was amazing because they had their version of fast food. They had the Quarter Pounder, they had the Big Mac, but like I said, the McBeer and the McWine was in there. And if you ordered McWine, you could have red, white, or rosé. And then beer, there was a longer menu. There were like 8 different beers that they offered. But they also had like the croissants were like actual croissants, not what you get with the here. So it was surreal just being in there. But it's funny because we hosted some German friends. They came to visit us. They wanted to see what a McDonald's was like, and they loved it here. And I'm like, you like this McDonald's? They're like, yes, the food is great. It's like, yeah, grass is greener.
Well, that's like there was, I think it was in Sapulpa. There was a McDonald's that was like world renowned for the longest time, and it was like one of the biggest McDonald's restaurants in the country. And it was so big, and I don't know why they decided to do it, but they built it over a highway. So there's like the restaurants on one side, there's another side of it that had, I think, the play place in it, and then like the seating and stuff was over the highway. So you're actually watching people drive under you as you're eating, and that was like this big draw for the longest time. And then at some point they shut most of it down, so now it's only got like one corner of it. But I remember that was, and it was funny because we were finally going to make the trip to go see it, and it was several years ago. And I was like, I've always wanted to go see this, and let's go do it. And then I start looking it up to make sure, and they're like, yeah, no, it's not anything like it was before. I'm like, damn it, I missed my chance. I'm always a day late and $1 short. I missed my chance. Damn it. But
alrighty. So, wait, did you do your number 2?
Yes.
Okay, so it's now to my number 1.
Your number 1. Yes.
I'm sure everybody remembers this. And yes, Ordy, Sizzler does get an honorable mention, and we will discuss that later. Don't worry. Fuddruckers.
Never ate there, but I always wanted to.
Fuddruckers had really good burgers, but it was their fries that attracted everybody in there. They had these, I'm not a fan of wedge fries, but I don't know what they put in these wedge fries. It must have been meth. I don't know. But these wedge fries were so good. And they had this, you could get them with this special cheese sauce, which I'm pretty sure was just Velveeta with, I don't know, whatever. But those fries were just amazing. Their burgers were huge. It was awesome to eat at Fuddruckers. And of course, they had an area for, like kind of arcade games and all that stuff, and I think they were trying to be like a smaller Dave and Buster's type of thing. But man, Fuddruckers, we'd go in there, and this was, after I graduated from college, my girlfriend and I, we would go there at least once a week, save all our pennies to go to Fuddruckers and have dinner there on Saturday afternoon. And it was awesome because it was close enough to where we live that we could, if we walked for an hour, we'd get there, and then we'd walk back for an hour. And by the time we got back to the apartment, and we had walked most of that off. It was great. And yeah, she had a car and everything. It's just that we preferred to do the whole walking thing so that we could justify eating several orders of those fries. They were that good. I will die on that hill. But no, I said Fudd Ruckers. M. The killer in chat. Fudge Packers. No.
Well,
oh dear.
Now that you mention it.
Giggity goo. Stick around.
No, I loved Fuddruckers, and it was very popular, and people were very surprised when they started closing down the stores and everything. It was a brand that was obtained by Luby's, the famous Luby's Cafeteria.
Yeah.
And that was another brand that went through a closing of quite a few cafeterias, which I loved Luby's Cafeterias. They had some of the best cherry pie I've ever had. And, but they're still around. They used to be that the headquarters were in San Antonio, but now they're in Houston. And there's still there's like 33 locations in the state of Texas. So, which is kind of cool, but none near me, obviously. Nothing is near me. So, that's another place. And so I can't say it's defunct because there are locations in Texas, but yeah, well, what's the point? None are near me. So, but yeah, that was my number one, was Fuddruckers. It was, I don't know what it was about their burgers, but their fries were amazing. And I still remember how good they tasted decades later. We're talking 30 years later.
They were so good that I still remember to this day.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
So, anyway. So, what was your number one?
Actually, I couldn't decide on my number one, so I have two number ones. But both of which were kind of iconic restaurants. One of which is actually iconic to Oklahoma's, and it was called Ingrid's Kitchen. It actually was right down the street from one of the longest running properties that I had a contract with on 39th. And it closed after more than 40 years in business, and it actually had 100 years of local baking history, because even though it opened in 1982, Ingrid's had ties to one of Oklahoma City's earliest kosher bakeries, known as Irene's. So yeah, it was around for forever. During its heyday, it was Ingrid's was oddly enough, even though it was considered a kosher kitchen, did a lot of German food, and it was also best known for holiday parties and I guess weekends. You could go in there and go dancing. I was always working nights back then, so I never got a chance to try to go dance at Ingrid's. I have eaten there a couple of times. That would have been a weird experience to me, but yeah. So, and that one closed down, I think, within the last few years. The guy who owned it was also the same one that owned a lot of property down there, and he passed away, and so it eventually wound up closing down. Another one which just closed, which was kind of a fixture in the Moore area, because it was right in front of the Warren Theater, and it was one of the places that was hardest hit during COVID, was Holly's Flatiron Grill. I only ate there once, but the food was really, really good. So they're gone now too. It lasted for 10 years before it closed its doors in Moore. It was actually a Hal Smith. It was actually owned by Hal Smith's restaurant property group. An interesting side note: it is now the news site for another iconic name, Toby Keith I Love This Bar and Grill, which is also another Hal Smith offering. But yeah, so those are my double shot number ones because I couldn't pick. Ingrid's has had really good food. It was one of the first times I ever tried German food. It tasted really, really good. Holly's was kind of more of like a soul food kind of place, and it was pretty good. I tried collard greens for the first time ever there, and I didn't exactly love them, but I didn't hate them either. So, and I thought I would, because I used to always hate the smell of greens when they were cooking. And somebody convinced me to try them. I'm like, fine, I'll try them. They're like, see, they're not as bad as you thought. I'm like, no, but it's not. I don't think it's anything I would ever eat again. But they weren't terrible. Kind of like when I tried kale when I went to CPAC. They had like it was one of the restaurants inside the freaking hotel that we were staying in, and they had a limited number of sides. So it was either that or something else that I absolutely knew I was gonna hate. So I got the kale. I mean, honestly, it didn't taste that bad. It was just weird. It was like more firm spinach, but it almost kind of had a bacon taste to it. So I don't know if they were like cooking it in bacon grease or what they were doing, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. But at the same time, not anything that I would feed myself. I might occasionally throw it in salad when I'm making it for my children, just so they look at me crazy when they're like, "What is in this?" It's got kale. You're gonna love it. It's got kale. You're gonna love it.
I tried eating kale, and honestly, I think I've tried it like maybe 6 times, because the first time I tried it, it had been cooked. So I was like, yeah, this is not my thing. Just like cooked spinach, I have to be in the mood for, and cooked spinach is best when it's stuffed in a pork chop with feta. I'm just gonna die on that hill right now.
Yeah, I can't really do cooked spinach. I don't like it. Now, the funny thing is, my mom used to be able to convince me to eat it all the time because I was a big Popeyes fan. And she's like, well, you see what it does to Popeyes, so you need to eat your spinach. Then I discovered raw spinach, and I never went back. I will put raw spinach.
Raw spinach is what
I'll use raw spinach instead of lettuce. I'll put raw spinach in my salads. I love raw lettuce. I don't like cooked like actual or spinach. I don't like cooked spinach really at all. But that also goes to, and again, this is I think I mentioned this last week, but this is one of the reasons why I have trust issues, because my grandmother, when we were moving to Seattle, it was when we were. It was when we were moving to Seattle, because she flew up there first to make sure everything was squared away, and then she came back to get us, and we drove. But so I'm living in Alabama for 3 months with my grandmother, and she fixes this side dish one time, and I had never seen it before, so I asked her what it is. I'm like, I don't recognize this. What is this? She's like, well, it's fresh spinach. You're just used to seeing it in a can. So I'm eating this stuff, and I swear to God, it's like eating sandpaper. I mean, that's the first thing I thought of when I put it in my mouth. And keep in mind, I have a good idea of, even at that age, what sandpaper looked like, what it felt like, and how the texture was kind of translating that way in my mouth, because I spent a lot of time in a body shop as a kid. So I was familiar with sandpaper because of Paint Body Work. So that was the first thing that it reminded me of. She's like, oh, no, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. I didn't find out until years later that she was actually feeding us a wild weed called poke. And if you don't cook it right, it will kill you.
Holy crap. Yeah,
Right?
I know about that stuff. Not it. You say this is the same reason I don't eat rhubarb, because I don't know. And I understand, no leaves, just the stalks. Yeah, but I'm like so paranoid, And I would love to try strawberry rhubarb pie, but that's not happening. I don't care if everybody else eats the rhubarb pie right there. I'm still not trying it. I just have a mental block towards it.
Paging Aggie, Amish has a message for you in the chat.
Yes, I get it. And like I said, that's the only time I do the cooked spinach, is when it's in a stuffed pork chop that I cook with feta. And I think it's because the feta's in there that it cancels out the spinach. I think that's why. But most of the time I eat it raw. It's, I'd rather have my leafy greens raw than.
I think if I were to do that, I think I would have to like saute my own spinach and put it in there. Because at least then it would, have the same somewhat consistency of the spinach I like, rather than the stuff that literally looks like seaweed in a can.
And I'm sure that I'm missing out on it. I get that I'm missing out on strawberry rhubarb. I hate to disappoint my two beloved fans, but I just can't do it. I cannot do it. If it meant I had to eat strawberry rhubarb pie or anything rhubarb related in order to save a life, I would do it. I would do it, and I would probably go into some kind of shock. But that's the only time. Yeah, that's the only time I'll eat it.
That's the
Somebody's
only.
going to be near death's door for me to actually eat this stuff. I don't know. And I get it. I understand that it's good. I really get it. I just can't do it. That's all.
What you're saying is you would be willing to risk possibly swapping their soul for yours to save their life.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Wanting to make sure we're on the same page here.
Yes. So, I don't know. Okay, so I guess we could do some.
I was going to say, I thought you said you had at least a couple more honorable mentions.
Yeah, Swizzler was pretty much my biggest honorable mention because that place was awesome, and I don't understand why it went away. Golden Corral is good. Don't get me wrong. Sirloin Stockade. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but Sirloin Stockade is kind of like a, same concept. My favorite part of the Sirloin Stockade was they had this giant cow in front of it. I mean, it was like this thing was huge. It was easily the size of a Humvee. I mean, that big. It was right there in front of the restaurant, and all of us would always pose with it and everything. So I miss going there too. But yeah, Sizzler was great, and I don't know why it went under because it was a very popular restaurant back home. It was so popular that some nights it would close early because it would run out. I mean, and it's a buffet. Could never understand why that one was, but that's one of my honorable mentions because it was a good place to eat. If you have a large family, especially a large family of boys, it was a great place to take them because, I mean, they could eat forever, I remember whenever our football team was playing Mech High or Memorial High School in McAllen, that's where they would go eat after the game. They would go Sizzler because they could eat a lot for, I think it was at the time it was still $9.99 or something like that per plate. So, and for a lot of people back in the 80s, $9.99, oh, that's expensive. Not if you're eating 3 or 4, helpings of food. So, but that was one of mine. How about you?
Well, so one of my last honorable mentions was a place that I always wanted to go to, but I was too young. And by the time I was old enough and started dating, it didn't exist anymore. There was a restaurant here called the Eagle's Nest, and it was like supposedly like the most romantic spot to go eat in the Oklahoma City metro area. You were at and there is another one that does it now, but I've heard it's not the same. But yeah, you're on the top of what was the tallest building at the time, and you're on a restaurant that was rotating. And apparently a lot of people like to go on dates there. So I never got to eat there, but I still want to call it as an honorable mention because I wanted to eat there, damn it. And by the time I was old enough, it didn't exist anymore. Anyway. So.
Yeah, there are quite a few. I mean, like Danielle brought up Bennigan's. And I remember in the 80s, Bennigan's was the place. Everybody loved the ambience because it had all the junky stuff up on the walls and everything that made it kitschy. And if y'all remember Office Space, the restaurant that she worked at kind of took that Fridays, TGI Fridays, Bennigan's vibe with the whole flare and the suspenders and the stuff that's stuck on the walls and whatnot. And it was funny because one of my best friends, her brother actually was an assistant manager for Bennigan's while he was in college. And Bennigan's actually offered him a managerial position, to run their restaurant when he graduated. So he did that for a time. And I asked him jokingly one time, it's like, where do you guys get all of this stuff that you hang up on the walls? That's that they have toboggans and sleds and they have instruments. There was a huge, phonium, baritone. And over there was a saxophone and all this stuff, and I was asking, I was like, do you guys scour places for this stuff or what? And he told me, oh no, we actually have them made for us. And I'm like, wait, what? So it's not an old toboggan or whatever? And he's looking at me going, no, none of this stuff is ancient. And I was like, well, what about the musical instruments that are hanging up on the walls and everything? I mean, aren't those musical instruments? And he said, no, they're actually plastic and resin casts. I was like, I am so disappointed. So very disappointed. I was bitterly disappointed to find that out. And he was like, no, all this stuff, we have a supplier for all of these things that go in the store. He called it a store, but it's, the restaurant. And I remember there was one not too far from us when we came back to the States that was at the outlet mall that I used to hang out a lot at. And I remember one Saturday, it was packed. Everybody was there. People were eating, blah, 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 blah. The following Monday, it's completely boarded up. I mean, it was like literally one day to the next. And, we were asking what happened, and they said, oh, they're closing it. I'm like, did people know about it? And no, nobody knew everything. That's why, I was laughing when I said, I think there's only one left, which was the one in Monaghan's. But apparently there's now 7 locations domestically. And then there's the takeout locations, the delivery locations, which there's more of. And then there's international locations for Bennigan's. I'm like, do you people even eat at your own restaurants anymore? I can't imagine a Bennigan's in Cyprus. And yet here we are. But, there were, I don't know, do you remember, I think there was one called Kookaroos. That went away. I mean, I don't think they even lasted a year. There've been a lot. The restaurant business is very difficult to keep afloat. So, and there have been many, many famous restaurants that have folded. I mean, I'm pretty sure most people know the Brown Derby. There were, if I recall correctly, there were 4 locations of the Brown Derby in the LA area and the environs, Hollywood and all that. And, that was where all of the celebrities would go for dinner and everything. And as a matter of fact, in the movie Dragnet, that's where Friday is taking Granny Monday for her birthday dinner. They're going to the Brown Derby, and she says, I saw Alan Hale here, Helen Hale Jr. one time. And it was, they were making fun of it in the film, but the Brown Derby was an iconic restaurant, and it closed its doors. Spago's, which was opened by Wolfgang Puck. There are other Spago locations, but the original one he actually closed. I'm
sorry, but Wolfgang would be yelling at you right now. It's Spago's.
Spago, Spago. And another one, and Chasen's, which was very, very famous during the 60s. That one also, closest stores. There are a lot of restaurants that were considered iconic that, they just, you would think that they would continue to be so because the clientele is still there, but it's like, oh, that's just for the older celebrities. We are the newer celebrities. We're hip. We want to go to this, and that's exactly how it happened. That these places actually closed down because the newer celebrities were like more about the image rather than the tradition, and people just stopped going to the Brown Derby, and that was, believe it or not, that was on my list of things to do before I died, was have dinner at the Brown Derby, and that one's never going to happen, obviously.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. So I thought I had a couple more honorable mentions, but I dug into them a little bit further, and I realized there are still technically locations. Like one that is almost gone in my state that was kind of like Sizzler here before Golden Corral came on the scene, was called Western Sizzlin'. Apparently there is one location left, and it's somewhere down near Ada. So I guess that doesn't really count. There was a diner that I used to love to eat at all the time when I used to work security called Ashley's. As far as I knew, I thought all of those were closed down. Apparently I'm wrong, because apparently there's still one on 240 somewhere. Although I was just in that area and I don't remember seeing it. So I'm still going to give that one an honorable mention anyway, because they had really good food. And the one thing I liked about them is, used to, when I was in, when I was wearing a real badge, I could get free food all the time. Well, with security, they didn't really do that often, because they're like, you're just security. Who cares? The two places that always did it, and it was awesome, was Whataburger, because they loved the fact that we would come in when they were in their drunk time and get food, because that was when our shifts were over most of the time. And then Ashley's, same thing. They would feed us for free all the time. And so most of my crew used to go eat there. I mean, a lot of us would still pay anyway, but they're like, you don't have to pay, right? We can just write it off. And I'm like, no. If nothing else, just put it in your pocket. Consider it your tip. And they're like, oh, we never thought of that. So yeah, then they really liked me, because then I'd come in and eat and then give them like a $15 tip, and they just write off the meal and keep the tip. But yeah, so I guess those are technically honorable mentions, sort of, because there again, I could get to the one, but 8 is even further than Tulsa. And according to the computer, there is still one on I-240 in Oklahoma City, the Ashleys, but I just drove down that entire stretch of highway the other day and don't remember seeing that sign, because if I did, I probably would have stopped. So I'm calling shenanigans on that one. That's right. I said it. I'm calling shenanigans.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy.
I hate it when it pauses in the middle of me trying to do a bit. That's supposed to be a solid state hard drive. It's not supposed to pause and have to skip tracks. Anyway. So anyway, yeah, those are my remaining honorable mentions, and we're actually a little over top of the hour anyway.
Yes, we are. We actually managed to talk about food yet again.
Well, this was Andrew's fault, but he'll have to catch the replay, because it just dawned on me when I checked on him today, because I hadn't really heard from him in a couple of days, and I think it's finally dawned on me why our numbers have been so much lower for the last couple of days. I just realized if you go back and you look at our traffic, because in places like Spreaker, we can track where most of our listeners come from. A good portion of them are coming from places that were just hit by a hurricane,
yes,
which Andrew happens to be in the middle of, because he had the misfortune of having to travel to Georgia.
Yes,
right?
He was in Savannah. So, yeah, I know that there have been some casualties, and it has been really, really rough. This is the third hurricane to hit that area, Florida, and move upward. So, in a couple of years, I think. So, it has been especially rough for them. And this was a very strong hurricane. A lot of people were saying, oh, don't worry, it's just a hurricane, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, this is more than just a hurricane. And I mean, I grew up, obviously, in Puerto Rico. Hurricanes they're part of our life. Seriously. So, and Florida feels the same way, that Puerto Ricans do. Yeah, it's part of life, that kind of thing. And but I know that some people are saying, how could they take it lightly? And I mean, this is a very stressful situation. And sometimes all you can do is try and take it lightly, because otherwise it'll just sink you. No pun intended. You will just, the worry, it's not like an earthquake. It's not like a tornado. You do sometimes have enough time to prepare for a hurricane and everything, but it's just the anxiety of a coming storm and not being able to gauge, wondering if you did everything right, if you battened down everything. It's just, it's a very stressful situation regardless. And, hoping and praying for all of our friends that were in the path of that tremendous hurricane to be okay and to actually start getting back on their feet soon.
So since we did go into the topic of the hurricane as we get ready to close things out, I do want to give a shout out, and I'm dropping an article that Amy wrote through Twitchy that just came out. But I would like to give a shout out to Fox Weather's Fox Weather reporter Bob Van Dillen. I don't know if you guys have seen the story this morning.
I did.
Apparently he was on scene trying to report on the weather, and he started hearing somebody screaming from a car. So he started trying to be reassuring, let her know that they had called 911 already and that help was on the way. And the water just kept going up, and she started screaming louder and louder. So he actually cut his feed and said, "Guys, I have to go see if I can do something about this." And then he's like a surfer, so he's like, "Yeah, I've dealt with currents. I think I can handle this." And they interviewed him about it later. That's exactly what he said. But then a few minutes later, they cut to him waiting back from the car with her. As somebody that's had to run towards danger and do things that everybody else looks at you like you're crazy when you do them, I have to give this guy a head tip, because that was amazing. Because I don't know very many people who are like reporters that would be like, "I'm going to risk my life to save you." That's not what they sign up for. So.
No, it isn't. And, it's the faith in humanity restored type of thing going on.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was watching that. I was literally in tears. I was crying. My husband's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
It's because I've realized that not everything is as evil as I thought. Damn it, don't judge me.
I have no idea what's wrong with me. Just give me something deep fried and covered in chocolate. I didn't get it, so I kept crying, but whatever.
He should have just made you some deep fried Oreos and drizzled them in chocolate.
No, I don't like Oreos. Don't come at me, anybody. What? I don't like Oreos. I'm sorry. I never liked Oreos. I think Oreos taste like dirt. But weirdly, when I make dirt cups, with the chocolate pudding and the Oreos for the dirt and the gummy worms and everything, that tastes great. I can eat the Oreos then, but I cannot eat them with milk. I cannot eat them alone. No, I can't. It tastes wrong to me. Don't come at me. I do not care.
Now I have a green eggs and ham parody in the works that I got to figure out how to put together.
And with that, we should wrap up the show.
But yeah, speaking of, I'm not sure I can work with someone who doesn't like Oreos. Would like to buy new co-hosts, please. Just kidding.
Wow. Okay. I see what I see how it is. Got it. Anyway.
I mean, who doesn't like chocolatey, creamy sandwich cookie goodness?
It's not chocolatey. This is what I'm trying to tell you. It doesn't taste like chocolate to me at all.
See, I blame the fact that you like the taste of cilantro on the fact of why you don't like the taste of Oreos.
Listen, I eat Mexican chocolate. And for those of you out there, you should know Mexican chocolate has no sugar in it. So do not come at me. I know what chocolate should taste like with and without sugar. This isn't it. Oreos are not chocolate. They're chocolate adjacent, but they're not chocolate.
All right. Well, we should get out of here before I.
Yeah, y'all know where you can find us anyway. So good night, everybody.
You should know by now you can follow her at Aggie Rican, me at Raderick73, station at KLRN Radio, news desk at Digital Beacon US, and I contribute to Twitchy, and she's all over the place too, so just go check her schedule.
Oh, I'll be on tomorrow night with you guys.
Oh, that's right. I was going to plug that, so thank you for reminding me. So yeah, before I forget, we probably should slow down a second. We are kicking off Vamptober here on KLRN Radio a couple days early, so it starts with Juxtober tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, with very special guest contributor to the show, Aggie Rican, as we start doing the kind of the cursory overview and cultural importance of things like vampires and all that fun stuff. So we're going to kick that off with her, and that starts tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern. So you guys know the rest of it. And we'll be back Tuesday for debate coverage too. So there's that. Do I sound not enthused?
I don't know. We'll see you then. All right.
Bye,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.